there. Today I want to talk to you about working with a ghostwriter. It's a topic that confuses many people because it's not always well understood. So there are certain questions that people always ask, so I thought it would be useful to put today's episode into a question and answer format. So first, let's start with the basics. What is ghostwriting? Well, it's when somebody, an author, has information or knowledge or experience that they want to put into book form. But for some reason, either because they don't have the time, or they don't have the inclination, or they don't have the writing skills to write the book themselves, so they hire a ghostwriter. And so then they simply transfer the information, either through interview or notes or some other way, from their head into the writer, the ghostwriter's head, and that goes into the book. And it's called ghostwriting because it's the author's name that goes on the cover of the book, and the writer remains invisible, like a ghost. Well, isn't that cheating? No, it's not. If you provide the information and it's based on your knowledge and your experience, then it's definitely not cheating. Let's say, for example, you're a tax accountant and you want to write a book to help people know how to gather and prepare their information for the end of the year. That's your knowledge. This is the world you live in. So the information is yours, the knowledge is yours, and it's based on your experience. So just by having somebody else write it down, how can that be cheating when it's your knowledge? Now, if you simply came to me or to the ghostwriter and said, write me a book on how to prepare for the year end, and didn't provide any information, then yes, some ghostwriters will do that. I will not. And for me, that is borderline cheating, although many would disagree. So how does the process work? Now, of course, there are many ghostwriters out there, and I can't speak for their methods, but let me just tell you how I do it. So when you come to me to have your book ghostwritten, in the first conversation we talk about the subject of the book, who your potential readers are so that we can decide on the approach, how you're going to use the book. Is it simply for information? Is it a memoir for your family? Is it going to be a promotional tool? Many different ways. And so we talk about that, and that helps me know what approach to take to the information. We also talk about the actual content itself, and then so that's how you'll explain to me, like, well, I have a shoebox full of notes on this, or I've been writing a blog, or whatever, however you're going to transfer the information to me, or we'll be doing it by interview. And so we get that sorted out. That's kind of logistics more than anything else. So the first thing that I do once I have the materials is work on the table of contents. Now this is very high level. I'm just sort of going through the process for you from a very high level. So there's a lot of detail that goes into this. But the first thing I do is produce a table of contents. The author then approves that or changes it. And once we have the table of contents finalized, I go on to start outlining and writing the first draft. When I like to keep in touch with the author as I go through and make sure that I'm on track and going in the right direction with the material, so that we can make course corrections if necessary. Then I give them the first draft, and then it's over to the author, who has to review the first draft and decide whether it's okay or whether there's bits missing or whether they want to put things differently. Then we discuss that, and I know how to begin the editing. And usually I do one round of editing, and then the author reviews it again. And for me, the way it usually works is at the end of the second round of editing, we're pretty close to being there with a final draft, a final manuscript. The process is flexible, of course, and individual, but that's kind of just the general shape of what it looks like when I work as a ghostwriter. And the last question, is it expensive? Yes, it is. I find ghostwriting a book to be labor intensive, much more so than writing my own book. That's because it's not my book, it's the author's book. And so I not only have to write a good book, but it has to be true to the author's voice and the author's style. And that's a skill set, and it's a whole other layer of writing. So yes, it is expensive. That's why it's the most expensive of my author services. I'm a professional, and I will help you author a professional book, and my service is worth the investment. Now, if you have a message or information that you want to put into a book, but for whatever reason you don't want to write it yourself and you're willing to invest in the project, then ghostwriting might be the answer for you. If you have other questions about ghostwriting that I haven't answered, feel free to drop me a line at helen@mhwilkiebooks.com and we can set up a conversation.